Hello New Zealand, Australia, the South Pacific, and to our viewers around the world. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello, I'm Philip Duncan with our first 2020 video of the year. And the weather around New Zealand at the moment, apart from the Ex-Cyclone, which looks a little dramatic on our animated wind map, we don't have a lot coming. In fact, we're kicking off this year kind of how we ended last year, with a number of places drier than average. Let's have a look at the animated map, and you can see the remnants of what was Cyclone Tino. It got up to a severe Category 3 storm over the weekend as it passed over Tonga. It's now down here towards the New Zealand area, and you can tell by the shape of it, this weird new sort of egg shape that it's got, that it's no longer a tropical cyclone. Tropical cyclones have that perfect center to it, perfectly round, whereas this one's getting stretched out as it becomes extra tropical, and that, in fact, it might actually get bigger and deeper in that process. And that's why you've been hearing in New Zealand these stories about the swells and the waves and the dangerous rips. So we're going to talk about that. Let's kick off though with the current air pressure map for Monday. And it does show that deep storm off to the side. And it's all of these isobars that are generating that ripple effect in the water. It's a bit like dropping a rock in a pond and the ripples come out from it. So as a result of that, the swells and the rips are going to pick up all around the eastern side of the North Island. Now, it may not be a huge amount. As you take a look at the swell map for Tuesday afternoon, we've highlighted in red the areas or the beaches that will have increased waves and increased rips. Now, if you're a good swimmer and you like to surf, you probably won't think this is too much. But for everyone else, for most of the beachgoers, you might notice the rips and currents do get more dangerous, especially up around this corner where 2, 3, maybe even beyond, extra in the wave heights coming through. That's 2 to 3 meters, I should say, coming in extra around that area. So a slight swell. The currents and the rips do pick up though, and being the middle of summer and a lot of people on holiday, that's the reason why we're talking about that. Let's have a look at Tuesday's weather though, and you can see why a lot of people will be at the beach. Sunny, hot weather right around the country. So maybe a couple of isolated showers up around Gisborne and Hawke's Bay, might be an isolated downpour later on in central Otago. Otherwise, it is a dry and fairly hot day across the country. And with that storm offshore, remember, the swells are coming in all day. In fact, they're coming through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. By the time we get to Wednesday, the remnants of Tino off the map, but we've still got high pressure over the top of New Zealand and a very weak front with subtropical winds coming down, so it's going to get even hotter as we go through the next couple of days as a result of this setup. And on Thursday, probably the main change we'll notice on Thursday is the return of the westerly winds. They'll be westerly quarter, so southwest in some areas like the west coast. Further up the country, you might find it's more of a nor'wester coming through. So it should be fairly mild, but that will also bring in just a little bit more in the way of cloud around that western side. And then as we head in towards the very end of the week, Friday, you can see more of the same. High pressure to the north, this warm nor'wester coming down, and rain clouds returning for a little bit around Fiordland. But as we head in towards the weekend, not a great deal of change, except those westerly winds are just ramping up a little bit. And when they ramp up a little bit, that brings in a bit of cloud to the west, a few showers around the west coast. You might even get one up as far north as Taranaki. If you need rain, there isn't anything really in here. And I have to say, the long range forecast right through to the start of February does look pretty dry, with the exception of the west coast, which is about average. Everyone else looking drier than average. So we're going to keep a very close eye on that, as this big dry in the north, which is an extension of the dry they've got in Australia. More of that dry weather continuing on, but fingers crossed, February might bring in some rainmakers, but it's a little bit too far out just to lock in yet. So a fairly quiet week ahead for my first week back. Good to be back. And don't forget, if you need more information, go and check out our news stories. You can find them at weatherwatch.co.nz and the news section of our free app. That's all from me. We'll see you again tomorrow.